Okay, chapter 2.8, we're going to graph and write. Graph and write inequalities. Inequalities. By inequalities, we're talking less than or greater than symbols. Okay, what we're going to be doing is graphing on a number line these different equations, or these different solutions, rather. So, for example, we work out an equation and it comes out to x equals 2. How would we graph it on a number line? Notice that on a number line, there's arrows on both sides, both ends, because it goes on, numbers go on, negative and positive forever, infinity. Now we're just using the number 2, so therefore let's just use 0 and 2 on the number line, just so we can show what side of 0 that 2 is on, but we're just going to use the number 2. The first one is x equals 2. So on the number line at 2, I am going to put a solid circle. It's solid. So a solid circle at 2. Our next one we're going to have is, it has an equals in there, but it's less than. So on this side we say it's less than or equal. Over here, it's greater than or equal. So, matter of fact, let's just put that over to the side here. So we say it's less than or equal, or we say it's greater than or equal. That's how we say those symbols. Okay, so on the second one here, it's less than or equals. Notice there's an equal bar in there. If there's an equal bar in there, then it's going to be a solid dot at 2. Matter of fact, notice the other one, it also is equal. This is also equal, so I'm going to put a solid dot at 2. Now, but that's not the only answer. 2 is not the only answer. And this is saying that x is less than or equal. So the answer to x could be 2, or it could be any number less than 2. So it could be 1, it could be 0, negative 1. So what we do is we shade this in. Basically something like that. And it keeps on going. So these, we're displaying all the answers that for x. X can be 2, or x can be all the answers less than 2. All the numbers less than 2. So x could be 2 or everything below it. Okay, for the other one, x can be 2 or it could be greater than 2. Any numbers greater than 2. So it can be 2 and any numbers greater than 2. So all the way to the very end, and it keeps on going. So I'm displaying all the answers for x. 2 and numbers above 2. These can work for x. We're displaying solutions. Okay, but the next one has a less than. There is no equals. It's just less than 2. So it can't be 2, but it can be all the numbers less than 2. So what we do, instead of putting a solid dot, we're going to put, or a solid circle, we're going to put an open circle. Like that. Okay, so it's not 2, but it's all the numbers less than 2. Less than 2. So not 2, but all the ones less than 2. So I'll just shade that in. All the numbers less than 2 will work, are the solutions. See, the solution isn't just one answer. It's not just one number. It's many numbers. All right, on the next one, it's anything greater than 2, but not 2. It cannot be 2, but it can be greater than 2. So I would again put an open circle at 2, and it's all the numbers greater. So I'm going to shade that in, everything greater. So the answer cannot be 2, but any number greater than 2 it can be. On this one, it cannot be 2, but anything less than 2. On this one right here, it can be 2. I should have probably made that a bigger solid. It can be 2 and anything more than 2. On the other one, it can be 2 and anything less than 2. On the first one we did, where it says x equals 2, the answer is only 2. Okay, a couple of observations to make of this. If it has an equals, a bar, it's a solid dot, solid circle. If there's no bar, it's an open circle. Also, if you notice, the way that, as long as x is on the left-hand side, you can just shade the way the arrow is pointing. If the arrow is pointing to the left, hey, shade to the left. If the arrow is pointing to the right, shade to the right. If it's pointing to the left, shade to the left. Pointing to the right, shade to the right. You can do that as long as x is on this left-hand side. As long as x is over here, then you can do that. Okay, down below these graphs, let's go ahead and put down some words that you need to know. Okay, words like is less than. If you see this in a sentence, a word sentence, is less than, the symbol you would use is less than. If it says is under, the symbol you would use is less than. If it says is at most, for example, that person is at most 6 feet tall, at most. That means they could be equal to 6 foot tall, or they could be less than, at most, the very most. So it's less than or equals. That's the symbol you would use. All right, is more than. Is more than would be greater than symbol. Is above. Again, that would be a greater than symbol. Is at least. Is at least. So for example, a person is at least 6 feet tall. At least. That means they could be equal to 6 feet tall, or they could be more than 6 feet tall. So it's greater than or equal symbol is what you would use for that phrase.